Within the field of historical linguistics, there is a younger, albeit sometimes less conventional, branch called Paleolinguistics, or sometimes Archeolinguistics. However, unlike conventional archaeology, where one digs up artifacts, it's not so easy to dig in the ground for language families. However, languages and language families, as discussed in the language families video, can be traced back thousands of years. Sort of. None of those language families had written forms that can date all the way back to the years when they were thought to have started, so even if archaeologists digging in the ground were looking for written documents, those can only give so much information. Granted, writing is incredibly helpful for documentation, and largely this is how totally dead languages like the East Germanic language family, including languages like Gothic, are still known about, even though they're not spoken today. And relatively little is known about places that didn't have writing, like parts of the Americas and Australia before the Europeans. And precisely because of this lack of universality of writing, there's a limited amount of information in terms of how far back historians and linguists can understand. Instead, the work of paleolinguistics is to describe the development of humans through linguistics, predicting how certain groups moved and separated from each other, geographically, certainly, as well as culturally. The issue here is that it's not supported by writing, and nothing else can be dug up out of the ground that linguists can use, so two or more languages have to be compared to each other in grammar and syntax, and sometimes, even if it's not so reliable, vocabulary. Sometimes this can be incredibly theoretical. Sometimes it is credible, but it requires a lot of data. For instance, the theory of proto-indo-european, the idea that many languages across Europe and India today are all related, was created comparing those languages now and trying to retrace those steps. However, linguists tried in the past to lump together languages that aren't so related, and so while the theory of p.i.e. is generally related, some theories like proto-world, which is the idea that most languages in the world are all from one source, is not so substantiated and not credible because it just takes too much and nothing else can really support it evidentially. Therefore, if you read a new theory for language that sounds especially grandiose or sensationalist, there's a good chance that it is not trustworthy. No one knows when the first languages came about. And if these were as complicated as those today, no one knows if these languages were spoken before Homo sapiens split from each other geographically. And when this knowledge is discernible, it will take work from archaeologists, linguists, biologists, geneticists, and many more. It will be truly astounding as a breakthrough for all of them. And this is not to say it's impossible, at least not in theory, but while Indo-European and the previous existence took a long time to work out the specifics, there is even a debate today about whether or not it began in Ukraine or Anatolia, and this depends a lot on whether or not people want to trust the archaeology more or the linguistics. And indeed, there's also a lot of politics to it. If you want to know more, there's a link to how proto-indo-european was adopted by white supremacists down below. Here's a quick special announcement. In 10 days, January the 19th, there will be the 1500th Word Facts post over on the blog. If you want to find it, you can follow the blog or like it on Facebook. This will be about Grimm's Law, a 7-part series looking at how languages split from each other phonetically over time. This topic was decided on the Patreon through a vote, and if you would like to become a patron, you can do so for as little as $1 a month or 3 cents a day. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.